Yeah. So what are you baking here or making in the kitchen? Oh, you're doing dishes. Oh, that's not as exciting. I guess it has to be done though. So
I mean, I could start baking, I guess.
yeah. uh, well, I mean, don't make something just for I don't know the YouTube channel, I guess. But yeah. So yeah. No, I feel like Steph and I go through like a um, well, the thing is, she works the evenings, so and we probably have at least one night a week where we go out to eat or we have dinner with a family member. So I feel like it takes us like a whole week to use a full dishwasher's worth of dishes. But then again, I'm sure being in Alaska, you probably do eat out a little bit less than you do when you're in the lower 48. Uh,
I really like cooking. I've always liked cooking. So for the most part, I just prefer to like cook rather than going out. I'm also like picky enough where I'm one of those like annoying snobs where I'm like, I can make this better at home. Well, why did I come out to eat at all? Um,
yeah. My mother-in-law is that way with Viet food. Uh, but she is an amazing cook though, so she's definitely earned her pride in her cooking. Um, and yeah, so I did see you put up a new video the other day. Yeah, I haven't watched it though. I did get the note that I guess I mentioned in it.
that was probably a game show episode then.
Yep. Yeah.
Must have been.
Yep. So with the wizard, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that one's fun because that's like a friend of mine from Wisconsin. Um, he's coming with me to Midwestuary, which is cool. So in some way, like it was he was like, I'd be cool if I could like meet some people digitally before. I was like, well, come on the game show. We'll see what we can do for it.
oh, he's coming from Alaska, or it
No,
was a
he's
live one, right? Yeah.
uh no, it was digital. Although
Okay. Well, you had told me that you had a friend in Alaska you were going to do it with, right? I thought you did.
I I made a friend, and this friend and I, ironically, we filmed it this past week. So I'm editing that one. That one will go out next Sunday.
Hmm. Okay, I see. So,
And it will be a name that you know. I just don't think you know that that name is in Alaska,
okay, cool.
which is kind of just like, I don't know, funny.
All right, something to look forward to. Uh,
And that one we filmed on in the mountains.
hmm. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, maybe we'll have to do something depending on what the schedule's like on site. You're coming to Elmhurst, right?
Yeah, yeah. So my buddy Darren, who's on the game show episode that you're tagged in, he's coming with me to Elmhurst, and he's in Wisconsin.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, did he know any of the corner lingo or stuff before he came on, or are you initiating him?
Initiating him. He's familiar with like Pajot's work, and he went to a Lord of the Rings conference in Pennsylvania that Richard Rowland was at. If you know Richard Rowland.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So, all right. So he sounds like someone who would fit right in at at the Midwestuary. Uh,
Yes,
uh,
he will fit in better than I do.
yeah. Well, I noticed you cleaned up a little bit, but you got the beard. You're a millennial. I think you fit in.
Yeah, well, I tried to cut my hair and I shaved a whole chunk of hair off somewhat accidentally, so the hat's not coming off.
Okay. You were doing your own haircut?
Well, I was trying and it failed real bad.
Oh man. Yeah. That's hmm. Yeah, I've never tried to cut my own hair, but I feel like I couldn't do a fade at all. Like if I was gonna do it, I would just do a buzz cut probably.
Well, my fiance told me I wasn't allowed to buzz my hair, so I was trying to do a fade, and I should have just buzzed it because I could have nailed that. I think.
Have you shaved your head before?
Yeah, I've gone full shave. I think that was for
Okay.
like a youth group thing in the past where it was like, if we can raise this much money, Ethan and his friend Daniel will shave their heads live on stage. Like that sort of. I was always like the
Uh,
guinea pig for that stuff.
did you use the straight or the yeah, I think that's what you call it, the straight edge to get it down so you were completely bald, or just
I I don't think we used a straight edge with cream. I don't think so.
yeah, yeah. I shaved my head once, and it looked okay. Like I don't have any psoriasis, or my head's like decently well shaped. But I don't know. I don't want to cut my hair every like 2 to 3 weeks though. And I don't like it when it's like a buzz cut length.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, I don't know. Everything is a lot of work to maintain, I suppose.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I mean, if you're actually bald, I don't think it's hard to maintain. But yeah, uh,
Well, you got to shave it all the time though, because like even if you're bald, little things still grow.
yeah, that's true.
Unless you're like,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
don't
know.
want to go like with the crazy comb over. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Uh.
How was your Sunday?
It's been good. I actually went through quite a saga trying to get a ladder to take this branch it's fallen. It broke off from the tree, and it's a pretty big branch, but it's still like 15 feet in the air, like wedged between the other branches. And yeah, no, I went to the store and I got the wrong ladder at first, and then they insisted that I could use it, but then I got it home and it's like, no, this one isn't going to work. So I had to go back, and then I had to use another vehicle besides my regular vehicle for it, and then I got it and I got it in, but it just like barely fits. It has like
Oh.
maybe 3 inches to spare. So, but yeah, so, but I'll get it done, which is the important thing. But I don't know. I feel like household stuff like that always is more work than I planned for it to be. Honestly, uh,
Well, it's always like seems like so simple. You go, I just got to do this one little thing on the house, and you go, that was half a day. Oh my goodness.
yeah, exactly. Yep, the joys of being a homeowner. So yeah, so
No.
yeah, it's nice not to hear like people arguing through your walls, though. I don't know if you've been in apartments when that's happening, but or smell them getting high, or
Yeah, I've had thin walled experiences for sure.
yeah. Did you do the dorm room experience in college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the second year I got out, so I only did 1 year of dorms. I got lucky. I think that's lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've seen college dorms, but I've never lived in one. So yeah, now, I had a classmate who had it wasn't a dorm room apartment. It was a regular apartment, but it literally didn't have like a full sink in it. It had like a half sink, and then the other half had burners on it. Like, that
Oh,
was pretty rough. Yeah, I think that's
I
the
mean,
roughest apartment I've ever seen.
where I was living in Washington just like a month and a half ago, it was like a tiny house, and the sink was a half sink. So the like a full size plate didn't fit in the sink. So every time I did dishes, it was just like water was everywhere. And I was like, this is a nightmare. This is an absolute nightmare. Like,
Uh,
and the stove was like a half stove. Well, it was a ship stove is what it was. He pulled it out of some boat, some live-in probably like a live-in sailboat, and then installed that
hmm,
stove into this tiny
hmm,
house. And so like even the half like rimmed baking sheet, even the half size of that didn't fit in the oven.
hmm.
So the oven was always cracked open, so everything always took forever to cook. But it was great. I mean, you know,
You were saving the world, Ethan. You were being eco-friendly.
something like that.
Oh my
Something like
gosh.
that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. You were more righteous than the suburbanites in their McMansions. uh,
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't. It depends on the day, I
I don't think
suppose.
so. Well, maybe you don't need a big mansion, but having a full oven's nice and a full stove top when you're cooking. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
um,
I
yeah.
uh, I texted Skankenstein, and he might join us in like 45 minutes if we're still hanging, because
Oh,
he was in Canada this last week attending some Martin Shaw stuff.
hmm. Okay. I see Sandy just said hi, so maybe she'll join us. Yeah, she's always around the Discord a lot, but yeah, she hasn't hopped in a live thing yet that I've done, so that'd be fun. So we did do a video. Actually, I linked that video we did together to someone today. I'm trying to remember. Um, oh, it's to Henry. That's right, because we did a video about marriage and Jewish perspectives, and it's somewhat relevant to what he was talking about with Mark Parker and Rod Hare. So, yeah, gosh, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't burn bridges here, but I actually agree with Henry that their discussion was kind of a downer a little bit. I thought I was watching, I couldn't help but think, like, man, I see lots of reasons I wouldn't get married based on this discussion, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of joy in it. I felt like.
So I didn't listen to Mark and Rod. I joined like three quarters of the way through. Like I just started listening three quarters of the way through when other people were entering the stream. So I never heard what their discussion, because it was about divorce, right? It wasn't the whole thing was about,
Yes, it was in part. Yeah, yeah. So
which is kind of
because
like the downer half of marriage.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess Rod's sort of the resident divorce advocate. I joke it a little bit, but he basically has said that he was in a marriage and he felt like he stayed in the marriage longer than he should have, and um, yeah, and no, yeah, he's not a divorce advocate. He just basically thought that he bought into the idea that he was supposed to be kind of, and I mean, I'm saying things he said um, that he bought into the idea that he was supposed to sacrifice and be the person who was um, giving sacrificially in the marriage, and because of that, he got burnt. Uh, was his perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been married yet, but I think it probably requires mutual sacrifice.
Yeah, I would too, and well, hopefully Jade agrees. Uh, but
Yeah, I think so. I think
uh,
so.
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I guess it's something I've been. It's been on my mind. Is you talk about discipleship and sainthood, and yeah, I think of like usually if you just say saint, I think of a martyr, or I think of like the desert fathers. But the truth is, I don't know. I think in some ways, if I was like, oh, I'm going to go and join in a monastery, I think that would be quitting on what God has called me to do in my life. Uh, well, especially if I decide, well, since I have a child on the way, especially if I was like, I'm not going to, I'm going to be everyone's father now. Yeah.
What do you think God has called you to life?
Oh, I think he's called me to be a husband and brother and a father, and I think he's given me some facility and some amount of skill with technical things, and I even though that's not the most exciting thing, I think that I would hope that I have yeah clients who would say that I've been Leslie, I've helped them organize things and figure out things when it comes to dealing with the government or banks or that kind of thing. And that I've made them put them in a position where they could, I don't know, buy a house or figure out how they're going to take care of a debt with the IRS or that kind of thing. Uh, which
Well,
I mean, granted, in a sense, I mean, I wasn't made for government processing, but at the same time, I mean, so I guess in that sense, I think of it it is in a way a lesser calling. I think in a sense that ultimately than someone who it takes on a religious vocation, but at the same time, I think that clearly God's not calling everyone to be in a religious vocation, right? I mean, that's not, even though you should be thinking about how you can serve people and what you can do in any field that you're in, right? Maybe a capital R religious vocation.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I think we probably use the word religion in poor ways, I guess. Because like I think like one of the things that you do is like you help people like have dignity and sometimes things that can feel undignified and
Mm.
like I mean dealing with numbers and money and taxes and government processes and all that. It's like so many people find that exhausting. And if you can like bring dignity to that and help partner with them through that, like that is like a you're bringing peace to people, you know, you're
Yeah.
bringing shalom. And
Mm.
like, I think that is like, it just depends on how you're viewing it, right? Because you can view it
Yeah.
as like, oh, well, my job isn't that important. Or you can be like, no, like I bring shalom to this and this
Mm.
helps set the world right.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's maybe a good segue. I was thinking about did you watch any of the AI videos that, well, Doppet made one, and then um, Paul and Kale both made reaction videos to it. Uh,
I watched Paul's video where he was talking through the Doubthat one. I have not watched Kale's. Although I did spend a portion of my earlier day on McMo's stream, and AI and universal basic income was one of the things that a few of us were
Hmm.
talking through.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess, I don't know. How do you think your life would change if you never had like another job where you were, I don't know, doing a specific task for someone else, or you were like punching a clock? If that was something you never did again, do you think that'd be a huge change to your life? Or I guess that's kind of what you're hoping for, right? For you
That is
personally.
what I am actively trying to build. I am trying to start a business and I am trying to provide enough value doing something that other people aren't doing that is worthy of asking people for $1, essentially. I mean, which would then allow me to continue to do those kinds of things and yeah, not punch a clock. But that like that's yeah, it's not I wouldn't say I'm hoping. I would say that like I wake up every morning and go, okay, God, like if I'm called to this, then you got to help me here because I'm not always precisely sure what I should be doing with my time because 8 hours is a lot of time. So like,
Hmm.
what should I focus on? Like, is this silly game show something I should keep doing? Like, is this important?
Yeah.
But like, it's strange because like the first episode of the game show was with Henry, and I got to know a lot more about Henry. And like the final question I asked Henry, I was like, "Hey, so like, did you learn anything new about yourself during the game show?" And then Henry goes like something like he was like, "Yeah, you know, I think I learned that I need to forgive myself." And I'm standing there going like, "Oh, that's a really like how that came out of a game show. Like that's kind of a profound moment."
Hmm.
Um, and so I was like, okay, so this idea isn't completely stupid because like not that I did it, but like this idea I had that I put into motion was able to give an opportunity to someone where they could go,
Hmm.
I think I need to forgive myself. And I think it would be good for me if I like stopped harboring grudges against myself. And you're like, whoa, like how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I know that not that I have any intentions of monetizing it, but there were a few of the Ratzinger videos that I made that I think literally no one else watched. I mean, it's hard to say because I guess if it's on Discord, it doesn't count it in the clicks. But I mean, I could look at it and I could see. I mean, I'd click on it like once or twice just to like make sure the audio's good and all that, and it looked okay. But it literally had like 4 clicks on it, and I kind of thought like, okay, well, what's the point of doing this if like no one's watching it? Is it worth it? And I mean, I guess as long as you're having a conversation, you're having some kind of human connection. I mean, I think that has its own value, independent of whether or not you're making any money on it or there's any career aspirations tied to it or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never looked at clicks on anything, so I have no idea.
Oh, really? I guess I'm more of a narcissist. I feel like yeah, I'm always
Well,
looking at the analytics.
I know what would happen to me if I had that knowledge, and none of it is good. So
Yeah, that's fair.
if I can resist the temptation, then I don't need to even like wonder, is this worth it? Because it's worth it now, not knowing how many people clicked. So like maybe it's better to just stay in that state. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not convinced that like all the information we have access to is actually good for us to have.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's easy to say if you don't have a mortgage on the line, right? Or you don't have like a kid's college tuition or something like that. Because I mean, there are people who are on YouTube who are, I mean, is their profession, right? I mean, I can't blame someone if it's a difference between them making a car payment or not, or trying to do something to get more clicks, right? I mean,
I don't know about that. I mean, like, if YouTube, if being on YouTube is your profession, then like, what are you doing? Because then it's like, well, it's my profession is to get clicks. And you're going, clicks for what? And you're like, well, anything that will get me clicks. And you're like, so it's your profession to do anything it takes to get clicks, which means now we're not even talking about value anymore. You're not even trying to produce something of value. You're trying to produce something that gets clicks. And I don't think I could argue that getting clicks is inherently good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, presumably you're trying to develop a brand. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of like anything creative where if you're doing it for a living, I mean, you're not necessarily, if you're, I don't know, a musician, you're not trying to become U2 or Beyonce. I mean, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find something, you're trying to carve out a niche, right? You're trying to, I mean, well, like for example, I mean, right now, I mean, I'm doing a book discussion, and I mean, there's a way in which if doing a discussion on Jordan Peterson's most recent book was something that would be a lot more popular than doing a book series on a 100-year-old German translation, just theoretically, then I mean, I couldn't blame someone for being like, oh, yeah, I picked this book because it was something that was in the popular culture, right? I mean,
Well, but I mean, like, okay, but like right now, if you wanted to get clicks, then you'd be talking about like Kanye's new music, which is wildly controversial and would probably get you some clicks. And you're like, okay, well, should I do anything for clicks?
yeah,
Like, at
well,
what point do you say,
it might get me canceled too, but yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, you're right. I mean, trying to get eyeballs in of itself, you're right. I think that's not a value, but I guess, yeah, I don't know. I think of it, and I know Luke Thompson. I've heard him say a few times, like, "Oh, I don't want to monetize my channel," and maybe realistically he could, but there's a part of me that thinks, like, "Oh man, I have to deal with a lot of headaches on my day to day." Work in my office, and it's like I don't know. There's a decent amount that I'd be willing to consider if I thought I could make a similar amount of money and stay at home on my computer. Uh, I mean, that doesn't mean that they're obviously within reason. I wouldn't do anything I would consider unethical or immoral or even embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a fair amount of like, I mean, if you were to turn YouTube into a career, you're gonna have just as many headaches
Yeah.
when it becomes a job and a career. It's gonna be different headaches, and now your headaches are gonna be in your home, which maybe isn't the worst thing, but yeah, I don't see it as like the grass is greener in terms of like monetizing a YouTube channel or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like I want to be a writer. And I want to write books, and I don't want to have to deal with the like. There's a way where you can turn a Substack into a book deal, and that like I tried going through the academy, and I came up empty, but I didn't lose the fire yet, so I'm still banging my head against the wall, and we'll see how much willpower I have, essentially.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, yeah. I mean, I guess for myself, I mean, the reason I created the channel was because I wanted to basically have a more organized and structured way to have the book discussions. And I guess I thought about it. It's like, oh, well, I was hanging out with people in the Discord before and we were having conversations and it wasn't realistically that different. So I figured as long as I have a few good friends and yeah, we are doing something that I'm proud of, I'm happy with it.
Do you think moving the book discussion from Discord to YouTube has that changed the conversation? Do you feel like people
Well,
are nervous because, oh, well, now there's going to be like eyeballs on it, or more, potentially more eyeballs, so now I'm going to talk less, where Discord felt like it was more of a private back room where I could talk more openly.
oh yeah. So people definitely are more open on Discord in some ways, and there are a number of people who I think don't want to be on YouTube, and I don't blame them. Um, but I guess for a book discussion, though, I mean, I guess you could probably do it in the Discord, but I mean, the problem is you can't like tell people you can't speak in a Discord, right? And you can, if you're doing a video and you're putting it on YouTube, you can record it ahead of time and just have a few people on it. So in that sense, it just makes more practical sense for organizing it. Yeah. But, no, I'm trying to think. Well, it is kind of funny because I think of it, and actually, it hasn't happened as much with my with our current series, but with the series with Emma, Mark, and myself, I think we were talking for almost as much before and after that we recorded as we were when we recorded the videos. So, and it was a decent amount of just kind of like random nonsense. So, well, I guess I don't know, to use the Van Donk language. It was a lot of contextual conversation, right? Of how things are happening in our lives. And yeah, which I don't know. I guess to me, isn't that interesting, but at the same time, I don't know. People seem to like it. It seems like it's pretty popular a lot of the time. Well, I mean, I guess part of it was the time slot, but I mean, the video I did last week on Friday, it was by far my most watched video, certainly live. And yeah, with that, I don't know. Part of me is like, man, this is just kind of a lot of random nonsense. But I don't know. I guess people like to be a part of it, though. And no, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you're old enough that you had a radio, but not a smartphone in your car, so you would tune the dial
Yeah.
when you start driving. It reminds me of like people when you talk to them about public radio, and if you start to have a conversation, they'd like almost be slightly embarrassed. They'd be like, "Yeah, I like the news programming. I think it's worthwhile, but what I really enjoy is like click and clack." Like, and I don't know, people enjoy that, and they enjoy the sort of. I guess you have to have a diet needs to have a balance of the carbs and proteins at some level, right?
Yeah, the live streams are interesting. I haven't touched the live stream. I have some ideas for how to do a live stream, but completely differently than anything I've seen, because there's like it's an interesting format that I think I haven't seen a lot of people play with it, I guess. What I've seen is people like, okay, we have a live stream, you come on, and then it goes for hours, and people come on and like get off, and it's like, but there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of mechanics and buttons on live streams that could be used in a playful manner. Yeah, I'm saying things without saying anything, which isn't really helpful.
No,
So,
I understand it. I am
here's an
honestly
example.
not that tech savvy. So
Here's an
I think,
example.
yeah.
Like in my head, I think it would be fun to host like something like a debate, right? Where I have like a topic, which is like, I don't know, should a YouTuber go for clicks? And then I have a live stream, and like, because in a live stream there's like, you can see the people in the waiting room. You could bring on one person, argue back and forth, and then throw them out, bring in the next person, argue back and forth, throw them out, bring in the next person, argue, like, and then people could come back into the waiting room if you want. But it's only ever one on one. And then the person running the live stream could, like, so you could have like a quick debate where you'd have a bunch of opinions, but there'd be the spotlight on just one opinion. So it'd only ever be, one voice at a time, kind of a thing. And I was like, that'd be interesting to see what would happen with that. And I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but it's an idea.
Have you ever watched Round the Horn?
Is that what they do?
Yeah, well, it's a show on ESPN, and I mean, I've never like sat down and watched a full episode, but I worked in a bar and grill restaurant that always had ESPN on when I was a teenager, like 19, and they go back and forth. Yeah, like they are debate, but then they have some kind of like real-time scoring on it. And I don't know how they're doing it. It's an old enough show. They're not using the internet. I know that, or at least they weren't when they started. But they toss people out as their scores go. As their scores go up or down. So it's kind of entertaining. So it has like a survivor element to it, and it's a debate thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Because also like with the chat room, I feel like chat rooms are happening, but very rarely do things. I mean, sometimes people will go through and read the chats, but it'd be funny to like make the chat like a voting board, like you're saying. Or even I thought it'd be funny to like host a debate between two people. But usually what happens is you go like, oh, you got 5 minutes to debate, and then someone like puts their argument. But at some point I always get bored. I was like, it'd be funny because on a live stream, whoever hosts the live stream like is in control of the mute button. And so like if a debate gets boring, then the moderator is just like, you're muted, okay, your turn now. And like just to be a complete dictator in terms of like how the debate is structured. Like there's no rules. If you can entertain me, you can keep talking. Otherwise, I'm gonna mute you and just move over to the other person.
Yeah.
But these are things that I find entertaining. I don't know if they'd actually be helpful or beneficial in any way.
Well, you'd have to have enough participants, right? So, of course,
Yeah.
I was surprised. Like I said, some of it was the time slot, but how anxious people were, anxious. I don't know if that's the right word. How willing they were to join in a live stream just because I had asked them to. Is
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was worried that I wouldn't get like too many people, but then yeah, I know like the whole time when I went like 2 to 3 hours, and I think we were backed up basically the whole time where people wanted to get on, but they couldn't because I'm cheap. So well, I don't know. Maybe I should look into paying StreamYard or something. I don't know. And,
It's a lot
but
of money.
how much is that? I don't know.
I thought it was like $1,000.
A grand? What? Oh, I definitely would do that. You mean PBK paid them $1,000 so he could like have 5 or 6 people on his screen on YouTube? Wow, that's a well. I'm sure there's
Don't
other
quote me.
things you get. Yeah, of course.
quote me.
I know it's the storage too because you got to delete videos if you have them there and you have too much data. But yeah, so yeah, so. No, I guess I was thinking today about if you have something else, feel free to bring it up. But the Dothic conversation, I was thinking like, okay, so if I wasn't working, if I didn't have a job that I was waking up and I was going to in the morning, like what would my life be like? And honestly, it would be a big change, but I also think I would get by. I think I have enough things that would occupy my time and things that give me meaning. And in some ways, I'd probably be living a better life because I think I'd be a lot more involved in like my local community and my church and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've been unemployed more than once, more than now. I'd been in the trades, and so you get like laid off in the winter. But I'd made really good money, so I was like, okay, well, no one's hiring right now, so I gotta wait a few months before the other trades start hiring again. But I think the hardest thing about not having a job is like not having a rhythm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I find the rhythmlessness to be like incredibly detrimental. So then you have to like impose a rhythm on your life because like that's a weird thing. I guess it's a tie to like the moon and the sun and living on planet Earth, but like I think rhythm is way more important and we don't give it enough credit. And we don't think about it enough, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking about it. It was in relationship more to factory automation than AI, but there was an Atlantic article, World Without Work. And one of the things they talk about in that article is there's a saying of Voltaire, which is that work frees man, work gives man three freedoms. So freedom from want, freedom from vice, and freedom from idleness. And really, in a modern society, want's actually kind of the easiest of those three. Like, I mean, there's always things that you'll need, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know basically anyone who's starving, for example. I mean, or anyone who doesn't have shelter. I mean, there are people who live on the street, but I mean, it's a very small portion of society. I mean, it's more about the idleness, not having a rhythm, and also, doing, well, I should say doing stupid things, like not having like kind of being a constant vacation mode where you might not have a good reason not to like have a drink of whiskey at like 11 in the morning or something like that.
Yes, I don't know about you, but I feel like people want constant vacation mode. I feel like by people I mean like culture. I feel like culture is like crying out for like just put me on vacation and like let the machines come already so I can enter permanent vacation mode. Which is why I really think the movie Wall-E is like our future. I think that's the direction we're headed in.
Yeah. Very, very possibly. Yeah, we'll see. But, yeah. Hopefully it's a bit of an exaggeration, but Yeah. So, I guess I was thinking about it. So when these conversations happen, they're always about the short term, right?
Yeah.
And about but I mean, over the long term, like over the next like 100 years, I think there's, even if the conversation that Ross and Daniel had, if it feels like science fiction, which it very well may, I mean, we're still moving towards a society where we're going to be doing less things physically and more things are going to be automated. And I guess with that in mind, I mean, so for my in my family, if you go back, so 3 generations, so my grandparents' parents, my great grandparents, um, I mean, they didn't have a career in the sense that they didn't like wake up and go to an office or go to a factory like every morning for a 20 or a 30 or a 40-year period, right? I mean, they did things. I mean, they had work in um, that sense, but they didn't. It wasn't like something they went to school for. They were licensed for. They were just. It was just like, okay, I don't know. This shop needs blueberries, and we're growing blueberries, and I'm gonna wake up in the morning. I'm gonna have to go like water these plants or till the soil or do whatever needs to be done. I mean, it wasn't a career thing. And I mean, maybe we'll look back at, well, I guess we won't, but maybe people look back 200 years from now and they'll think of this like period as being a period where everyone was very specialized in their work. And that was kind of an outlier in human history.
I mean, what you're saying is really interesting to me. I mean, like that's the direction I'm trying to move my life in. And that's the direction I'm headed until that direction becomes like unviable. But like Jane and I's plan is to like buy a farm or a piece of land to farm in Wisconsin. And there's a high chance my parents are going to go in on it with us. And like, we're going to have like we're gonna buy I don't know, buy a piece of land with multiple homes or buy with one home and then build a home, like, and then try to figure out like, okay, well, what is this like little local thing, like what do they need, like, do we need some good wheat? Okay, well then we're gonna start doing wheat. And like, I'm not saying that that's not a simple thing to figure out, how do you make a farm to be economically viable. But I can't imagine a future where I go to a job that I don't even know how it like it impacts the globe more than it impacts my local plot of soil. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like a globalist corporate job. I want to try something different and see what happens. And it very well may be a mistake, or it may be a good thing that I can't manage or pull off and then just explodes or just slowly, quietly whimpers away. I don't know. But I believe in it. I believe in this localism thing enough to take a stab at it and to like spend some money in a family sense. My family believes it enough to like try it. I don't know if we will regret it or not.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Jane's on board, and it sounds like you have other family members on board too, which is good. So, yeah, I've often joked with my wife. Well, Steph, she's a nurse, and that if the apocalypse happened, I'd be the most useless person. She'd be the breadwinner of the family. No, I'm sure I could find things to do that would be useful, but I don't think they'd be accounting. So I feel like if society really went to hell, that government compliance would be one of the first things out the window.
But don't you think that if there was an apocalypse, that whatever like local community you were in would still need somebody like you to do like to count the things and to make sure all of the counted numbers were in order? Like it would be different.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking. I mean, there has to be some kind of functional banking system or government. For it to make sense, but yeah, I don't know. And I mean, of course, if the question is, do you have computers? There's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you, I don't know. Maybe I would become a computer. So, yeah. Well, I guess there were people not that long ago who worked for large organizations that had the job title computer. So,
Was that a
uh,
job title? I didn't even know that.
oh yeah, I think it's. I want to say it's Charles Murray has said I fell in love with the computer. So because I guess that was his wife's job title. Yeah. Let me
Huh.
see. Yep. When they started dating, and I mean, it was a while ago, but not that long ago. I mean, so yeah, maybe in like the 50s actually. Yeah. But yeah, so but yeah,
Well,
no. Well, I mean, some accounting is basically just adding numbers, so or counting. So yeah, but
well, but isn't it? I mean, isn't it more than just adding numbers? Because isn't there a sense of like you're adding numbers, but you're also like a trusted human who's
oh
adding the numbers
yeah.
that everybody can agree on. These are trusted numbers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is, yeah, I mean, accounting by definition, it means you're accounting for something in the sense that you're matching two numbers to each other. And yeah, and there is a fiduciary sense of it too, where, I mean, you're someone who's trusted with a lot of private information. Yeah, I sometimes joke with my wife, like, yeah, I'm not crazy, but I do have a database with approximately half the people I know's social security numbers and bank account information. Maybe I should be saying that on a live stream. I don't know.
I mean, if anybody thought about what an accountant is, then that's kind of just built into what you do. But I mean, yeah, that's why I go like, even if there was an apocalypse, we'd still need people who go, hey, we as a community, we trust this person with the numbers. They match the numbers here and there, and we agree that they can be the one to look at the private things for all of us and then push it forward.
So, yes, I agree with that. But I guess the whole point is that I think my wife's status as a nurse would increase and mine would probably take a bit of a hit if we were in the apocalypse. That would be my guess. Uh, yeah. So, of course, I don't know. I mean, performers, I mean, or if writers, I feel like if you don't have the internet, I mean, you could be, I don't know, just like the roving band of like stage performers or something like that. I mean, I feel like that's a common trope in like sci-fi.
Yeah, I don't think that's my archetype. Like I
Yeah.
do a little bit of that. Absolutely. I do a little bit of that. And I like doing that. But I think what I've done more is like I'm just a little bit of a wanderer that goes from like community to community, village to village. And I record data and then I like share stories that these people haven't heard over here. And then I bring their stories to these people who haven't heard their stories. And while I'm in this village, like what do you need? Do you got a spare role? You need me to jump on stage? You need me to pick up a gun and be a sniper for a while? You want me to go farm? Like, do you need me to clean some toilets? Like I'll do whatever it takes. Like
Yeah.
I'll do the work, but I'm also gonna like, just record everything I see.
Huh. So it sounds like you're ready for the apocalypse. You got the plan.
I think I'm fairly apocalyptically minded.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation right now, so like let's go.
Okay. You're just reading them, or do you have like a Bible study or a commentary or something you're doing with it? Or?
I'm following Ross Bird's Bible reading plan.
Okay.
So it's a psalm a day, and then right now we're in Daniel and Revelation this month. So it's a pretty intense month.
Yeah. There's a podcasts I listen to, the wisdom of crowds, and the two main people, like one guy is non-religious and the other guy is Muslim, but then it seems like everyone else in their orbit for some reason is Catholic. And anyways, the guy who's non-religious has been reading the Bible, and I don't know, it's interesting to hear someone without any religious background talk about Revelation, and yeah, are certain like parts of Scripture, and it's like, I don't know, maybe sometimes Catholics have a little bit of a point about that. You need some context. Because people have gone kind of off the deep end with Revelation in a few different ways.
Yeah, I mean the religious community I grew up in was all about like end times, apocalypse stuff. Left Behind is happening right now. Like, so yeah, I've very much I've seen not like cult level, but like religious Christian institution level, just like a church, like what happens when you take Revelation really seriously. That becomes your entire worldview, and then every president is either the Antichrist or the Messiah, and you're like, it's exhausting. I mean,
Yeah. Let's see, Yasser Arafat, that was the guy I remember hearing nominated as the Antichrist in the 90s. You don't need to comment on that. I don't want to get this like thrown off of YouTube. Oh, gosh.
but I mean, and the Book of Revelation is so interesting because, like, so I normally read on the computer, and I like reading on the computer because I can click on the words and see the translation, and then what I really like is seeing where is this word used across the scriptures, which then you see this whole like pattern of words, and I eat that up. I love it. But I mean, Revelation, like you'll click on a section and it'll be like, oh, this is imagery from Isaiah, this is from Jeremiah, this is from Ezekiel. It's like the amount of different sources that whoever wrote Revelation was pulling into this one apocalyptic poem prose thing. I mean, it is, and then to fuse them together into something new, like, and then for people for thousands of years to go like, we want to keep reading this. Like, that's an incredible work of literature.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one thing for the premillennial Christians, which is that you read Revelation, and I think any reasonable interpretation of Revelation has to conclude with, well, it's going down, right? I mean, I'll be G-rated, but I mean, it doesn't sound like a peaceful time, I think.
No.
And I mean, maybe you could look at it and say that those are things that have happened in the past, or that he was writing about the Roman Empire, which is one theory I've heard. But I mean, yeah. But of course, actually, the hardcore dispensationalism, and I know this isn't anything to you, but the whole Left Behind stuff, that actually comes from Second Thessalonians. That doesn't really come from Revelations and the rapture and all that. Yeah, like the idea of the Antichrist taking over the third temple. Yeah.
Well, and like, yeah, I mean, the Antichrist, like that word itself is so interesting because it's like, do you capitalize the A and make it like a title? Or does it like is it the word anti dash capital C Christ? And you're like, oh, so there are humans that are against the way of the Messiah. But like, just this small little grammatical things shift entire stories.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole thing gets weird, where you look at grammar and you go, oh, so like grammatical things affect the whole project.
Yeah. Well, I think it was C.S. Lewis. I mean, I mean, it was in his preface to the Screw Tape Letters, and it was about demons, not the end time. But I think it has a point of relevancy, which is that one temptation is to maybe blow it up and make it the central thing and elevate it above the stuff that's in the creed and above the things that are in the gospels. But another temptation might be to ignore it completely too, or to in some ways maybe fall into the idea of the post-millennial Christians where we're just going to innovate our way to the millennium, right? I think that is its own kind of materialist kind of heresy, and I mean the 20th century made it look very dumb, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, and then like for me growing up, Revelation was a big deal, but then it quickly became like the opening poem of Genesis, and Genesis 2 is like, this is a science textbook that we need to operate out of. And it's like, okay, so now we've elevated this it's not that many words, but like this becomes the whole argument that every week the sermon is about creation, evolution, and you're like, but like there's a really big book, and this book is full of all kinds of things, and like yeah, there is, I don't know, elevating one thing above all other things seems to often lead to trouble. But it's also really hard to try and balance 10 things and figure out how do all these different objects, how do you balance things?
Well, PVK oftentimes talks about the idea of evangelicalism in the popular sense of the word as being about as being a marketplace more than a specific religious confession. And yeah, that end time stuff, I mean, Left Behind in particular, was very popular in the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s. So people really ate it up, so to speak.
Well, and that's, that brings us back to like getting clicks, right? Is like, if something blows up in the marketplace, and other people go, oh, well, maybe that means that that's the thing. So I need to like double down on that because that will bring in money. So therefore, like, let's keep mining that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something to that. Evangelicalism is first and foremost a collection of publishing houses. No wonder it's going down. Actually, I don't know if that's true, if it's going down or not. Did you listen to The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill?
No.
So one of the things that Cosper gets into at the end is this idea of, well, the whole medium is the message thing, and the fact that Mars Hill had all these satellite churches where they were putting Mark Driscoll on this huge screen at the front of the church, and that there wasn't like a cross or other religious symbolism there. It was just this multimedia kind of thing where it was almost like going to a movie theater or a concert. And you listen to the podcast, you think like, oh, of course that wouldn't work, but of course you might know a little bit about this, but that's completely the model, which, the Carolina church, trying to remember the name of it, Elevation has used. Yeah, most of their locations, they have streaming video there, and they don't, I mean, they have some kind of on-site ministerial staff, but they don't preach at that location for what it's worth. And I mean, I don't know. I think there is something to be said about having a uniform message, and the idea of not having every church kind of be its own independent kingdom that has teaching that's completely independent of other parts of the church. So
Yeah, it's interesting because like the church I worked at was that way, where it was like there was there was you weren't allowed to say there was a main campus, but there was a main campus that was bigger than everything else, and where the main pastor, who you can't really say the main pastor, but it's the main pastor, is preaching from, and it's like if you get a charismatic individual and then you create technology to like send that charisma places, you can collect a lot of money that way. You can carry charisma through technology pretty effectively. And then you have, administrative staff to administrate the charisma, and that model works.
yeah. Well, I guess I don't want to talk about churches that I've been involved with, but I mean, PVK talks about Tim Keller, and I've heard other people say this, where apparently people would go to New York and they'd go to a Redeemer church and they'd find out that, oh, this church isn't the one where Tim Keller's speaking at today. And they would literally like run out and go to the other church campus because they wanted to hear Tim Keller speak that badly. And I don't know. Personally, I think Tim Keller's like better in like podcast form than he is giving sermons. But that's just my opinion. Well, he's a professor, and I mean I like his sermons. I shouldn't. Yeah.
Are you saying his podcasts are more like a professor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm saying so. He was a seminary professor for a lot of years, and I mean that is his speaking style. And I feel like if he's on like a podcast or giving a lecture or something, that's something that's a little bit more his pace. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with his sermons. Yeah. I don't know. I was raised in Pentecostal churches. I like sermons that are a little more fiery, honestly. But there's PCA ministers who are more fiery than Keller. Oh man, we're losing viewers here, Ethan. I'm digging at Keller. So, hi, Sandy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How was your Sunday?
Just got off work.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good to be done. Are you off work for a little while, or
3 days.
Oh,
This
okay.
is
Nice.
our May long weekend, so
Okay.
I have I didn't sign up to work tomorrow, and I've got my regular 2 days. They scheduled them to follow right after, so I'm gonna go pick up my son and probably eat too much popcorn and watch too many movies that he likes.
Oh, nice. What is your spring holiday in Canada?
March break?
March. Well, like I know we have Memorial
Well,
Day in the U.S. Do you
what
have?
are
Is
you
it
talking
Memorial
about?
Day in Canada, or is there another
Long
holiday?
holidays, or Memorial Day is not like a whole long
Well,
spring
no,
break.
just like the beginning of summer, I guess.
Probably this. I think it used to be. Is this the one that used to be Victoria Day? After the Queen. Now it's just May long weekend, aka May 2-4, because
Okay.
it's which people love saying for the campers and beer drinkers among them, but it's mostly just because they have it figured out. Whichever one falls, whichever I guess Monday falls closest to the 24th. So May 24, May 24.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this week it seems kind of early, but not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Memorial Day's next weekend here, but yeah, it's the same thing.
Same
It's
principle, yeah.
marginally about honoring the forces, but it's more, an excuse to drink beer and go camping and
Barbecue some marshmallows and tell your
Yeah.
kids not to fling their marshmallow sticks around.
run around with the sparklers, make sure the kids throw them in the water before they get to the end. So
Yeah.
Ethan's all ready for the holidays, the summer here, 4th of July and
Did
Memorial
they
Day.
do anything different there up in Alaska Like if you go northern Quebec, they'll have the goose. They'll have goose break. Like when the geese come in, then they go hunting.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
But that's so that's around the same time now, not in March, when we have our March break. So that's their school holidays.
Yeah.
Wait, is goose break is like a you get off school for goose break?
Yeah, in Quebec.
Oh my goodness. That's
Wait,
so cool.
Sorry, I was distracted for a second here. So, what's going on Goose Break? Sorry.
People go to their camps, also known as whatever their cottage style or tent style, whatever place they have out where they go hunting.
This is an excellent crossover. So we were actually talking about, actually peacock hunting potentially on our last stream, and now we're talking about goose hunting.
That isn't something
we are the enemy of all birds here.
Yeah. Yeah, peacocks are a little bit vicious, but then so are the Canada geese. So.
Oh yeah, well, Canada geese
Not
can
as
be
much
very
as
territorial.
Yeah. Beware of pretty birds. They are not. They're not necessarily nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, so what stood out to you? Are you ready to let the robots take over whatever you're doing at Walmart?
They kind of are already up to their little eyeballs in it.
Yeah.
Everything's computerized. Like everything. We're actually, because people want to just come in and do their what do they call it? Online grocery shopping, so they don't have to actually get out of the car and go in, which works out great for some of the moms that I knew that had like adult disabled children that they just didn't want to have to coax around the store for as long as it was going to take, or little ones, same deal. Then they just put their orders on, they pull into a spot and somebody comes out and they pop their trunk and away they go.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a little more work for you, right? Because you have to like pick all the items and arrange them ahead of time, right? In addition to shelving them all.
Yeah. At the moment, that's kind of how it works. There's the employees just every employee that's picking a grocery order is counted as a customer. So you're like you see them coming and you're just kind of like whatever you can do to help them get it through quickly.
Yeah. Is shipped a thing in Canada?
Is which?
So it's shipped, but SHIPT. It's I mean, there's other like like gig work things where people have groceries delivered, but that seems to be the one I always see in the stores here.
There's different, like there's all kinds of different, like I don't know if Uber Eats does the grocery shopping, but they'll go, they'll do a McDonald's run for you or whatever. There's a lot of there's several different ones. Yeah. Shipped grocery delivery.
Yeah, that's the one I always see in the Meijer here. So
yeah, it mentions Meijer, but I don't know.
Okay, can I ask a question about that? Because I've always, I guess I haven't really looked at it. I've always thought that you would be, you save time, but don't you end up spending more money? Is that accurate?
Sorry, I was looking it up. It's not in Canada yet, by the way. Yeah, Sam. On which,
like any of these things where you're hiring somebody to like do your groceries for you or collect your McDonald's for you, you're saving time, but you're spending more money. Do people feel like they need the time more than they need their money, I guess?
So let's see. Sometimes you do. Delivery fees, service fees. I'm looking up Uber Eats because they're here in Canada. I don't know which other ones there are. There's some other ones where you just even can buy like a small package of whatever you're going to eat instead of ordering food out. I forget what some of those are called because I don't use them. Then they'll just you can order like I know they advertise with little so many free meals cards right in your mail. And then it will, what they'll do is they'll pick some dinner, lunch, whatever meals for you, and they'll just provide you get the food shipped. But yeah, you'll pay for that. Everybody needs to make money because everybody needs to eat. So if somebody's actually doing that for you, yeah, then you pay for them to do that for you.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, like, it's almost like a proof that the time really is more valuable than money.
It is. I mean, and you can justify it. Well, I would use gas, or I would do this, or I would this or that, or I'm some wear and tear. I'm paying the same for, but basically, a lot of when I was going to ask that from your earlier discussion is, what do you value? Like, what is value? How do we create the concept of value, and how do we then apply it to ourselves and others? And time is a big one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because earlier today on McMo's stream, Neil had just started talking about value, but the conversation kind of moved on. We didn't hone down into value, but I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Well, I know I've never done like a full grocery delivery, but I mean, I know just when I do DoorDash, it probably doubles the price. But there's been times when I've had like appointments all day and I couldn't get away from my office. And so for me, like, even though it was twice as much, I guess I felt like it was worth it at that point. And to be honest, I really don't like use it because I don't like how they compensate the people who are doing the work. But I mean, there's been times I felt like, I just can't get away and I need to eat, and I didn't bring food ahead of time.
Yeah. So I'm just home from work. I have a thermos of tea I've just filled up so I can sip it over the next few hours, and 2 pieces of toast with chocolate on them. That'll be dinner. I just got to the end of this sore foot I'm nursing is just about done. And one of the things that often goes by the way is really good self-care in the nutritional means. Yeah. So some days I will stop and I'll just buy something. McDonald's fries and a burger is not my best first choice because I'm old enough to be becoming aware of the cumulative wear and tear and poor choices.
Gosh. Yeah, no, I mean, I quit eating fast food like a decade ago, and in a lot of ways I'm pretty lousy with my nutrition and what I eat. But the thing was, I found that I would eat when it wasn't meal times. That'd be one thing. And the other thing I do is I would go to like Taco Bell or McDonald's. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get one item. And then I'd be there and be like, it's like $3 more. I'll get like 2 more burritos. So I would overeat and eat when it wasn't meal time. So I was like, no, what? I can't keep doing this. But to be honest, fast food's gone up a lot in terms of prices, at least in the U.S. And it doesn't seem like other restaurants have gone up anywhere near as much.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah, McDonald's is easily twice as much as it was 3 years ago.
If Google is correct, you guys have a much stronger economy than I do. I don't know if that's true. Like a lot of our cost increases have been insane since COVID hit.
Well, housing's been the big.
So if I go to a basic restaurant now,
Yeah.
Okay, I take my son out for breakfast, say. standard breakfast will cost anywhere between, if you're on an early, give you a break cost, it could be $11-12, anywhere up to $20 each for breakfast. And if you go to pay at the till, it will, if you're going to tap, it'll ask, do you want to pay 15, 18, or something else percent? Like, I can pay more for the one meal than I would make in an hour myself to earn easily, because so yeah, there's and it's hard, because the harder I'm watching 30-year-olds who are nursing some of the same, not necessarily injuries, but wear and tear that I was experiencing in my 40s. And I'm like, actually, some of them are in their 20s, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds who are nursing some of the same. I just work too hard. I'm not in good enough shape. I don't, or nutrition to manage the level of whatever that we're doing. So it hits you harder. And I know myself, the last couple of years, I've learned the value of vitamins. I had no idea that some of the physical reactions that I've been feeling off and on for probably the last couple of decades, I've just put down to basic stress. And in the last couple of years have, hit me hard as, what the heck happened? Like, why is, what's going on with my system? I can't be passing out at work. Like, I'm eating, my blood pressure says I'm optimal. What the heck? And it's like, oh, wait, you don't have any vitamin D in your system, or B12. Apparently my D was so low they couldn't measure it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a North American problem. Apparently we don't get outside enough, and we also don't eat enough vitamin D carrying foods.
Okay.
Or when we do, they've already been stripped of all the good stuff in transport.
Yeah, I think unfortunately food has always been, for whatever reason, quite a bit more in Canada than it is in the US. I'm not sure why that is exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some technical reasons, but yeah.
I'm not 100% certain. You in your profession would probably have a much better grasp of some of the whatever, economists would tell you than I do.
Yeah.
I think, know that since I was a kid, usually our dollar is I have to measure up to your dollar. Like, if you compare mine and yours, we're usually around 69 cents. So to anytime I would go into the States, I'm like $1.40 to equal your dollar.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that.
Well, when I was growing up, it was at parity for a lot of years, but yeah, more recently it has been like 70 cents to $1. So it sounds like you're ready for the robots to take over everything.
Me?
Yeah.
No. My doctor's saying, don't retire.
You don't want to retire?
You're going to sit around, and everything that's screaming at you is going to get worse. You got to keep it moving.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. What did your parents do, Sandy? It seems like your family, they worked pretty hard, it would be my guess. It seems that.
So my parents both, I'd say they had office jobs, although not exactly. My mom was a legal secretary. My dad was a land conveyancer. So I don't think that job technically exists in the same vein as he did it. He used to have to go down to City Hall, pull out all the paperwork, go through it. He could tell you by memory a large chunk of Toronto, who owned what, which family had. He would just tell you family histories.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So.
These days it would just be called basic paralegal, and be a little bit more stuff, and probably not nearly, but he was self-employed. Like he contracted himself to lawyers in the office there and would do all their title
So,
search stuff.
I mean, would it make you a little bit sad if 20 years from now you went in a Walmart or a similar store and you only saw like 2 people working there, making sure that the computers were doing their thing? Or would you be like, oh, that's an improvement?
Heck yeah.
That
People
people
go
aren't.
out to any store. You pick a store. People go out so they can talk to people. A lot of them do. You know, there are people who are just, they don't care. They don't want to talk. But if you look at, like, there's whether it's, we used to have mall walkers, you know, the people who would get all their exercise instead of going outdoors to do it. They would all, you know, go and join a group and walk up and down the length of a mall or whatever. Or some people do that around a store. You'll watch people up and down every aisle, up and down every. They've got it timed. How many times around you have to go to measure up to your doctor's, how many steps you have to get in per day, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
Which
I mean,
probably
I
good, but
live
they
a
can stop and
little
talk.
bit to the south of you, but not that far to the south, so at a similar longitude. So, and I could definitely appreciate being somewhere that it's heated and doesn't
Yeah.
have ice in the winter and just walking. That's always a good thing. But
Yep.
yeah. So, but well, you seem to enjoy your job though, in the sense that I feel like if people come to you and they see you at your work, you want to talk to them and help them out, and you like
Oh.
customer service, assuming they're not being jerks, which I mean that does happen.
I had a gentleman stop yesterday. I was just unpacking stock to put away, and he said, "Are you the lady that helped an older gentleman this week?" And I'm like, details.
Well, you laugh, but I sense a lot of
Yeah.
people who work customer service jobs don't want to interact with other people, and it kind of makes me a little bit sad when I
Well,
see
customer
people in
service
those
is
kind
not
of
the same as
jobs.
working on the floor. Like,
Yeah.
you go out and you're working somewhere where you're pulling boxes out of a back room and you're putting, you know, different things onto a shelf. There's an element of customer service to it because every retail place, you're doing this so that you will have customers come in and be happy, so they'll come back and, you know, do it again. But like this gentleman just stopped me. He says, "I don't have time to talk," because I said, "Oh, what are you looking for?" I assumed he's looking for. I says, "Oh, nothing." He says, "I just wanted to say thank you because, you know, for helping." I guess it was, he didn't say who, a relative, find a couple of shirts he was looking for.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people come in and they'll just say, you know, "I'm looking for this or that," but they don't really know what they're looking for.
Yeah, but in all sincerity, I mean, I can't help but think that if you work a job where you're in like a public space like that and you really don't want to talk to people or interact with them, that's got to be a kind of hell. I feel like I really do feel sad for people who are in the kind of job and they don't want to interact with people.
Did I tell you that when I went back to work after my divorce and I kind of shared some of why I was looking for the job and some of the details of life. Basically listed off a few of the points of hell that I was leaving, and she said to me, "Oh, you'll be fine." She's like, "You'll be great."
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, there can be, and you like, I mean, people can be really hard on each other. Like, I don't understand some of the things that go on. But that's one of the reasons I think I do like working there is I like people, and you know, people can sense that. Sometimes, you know, I'll even our like other staff, you know, you see them go past you and you just give them a smile and you watch them just light up, you know, because they needed that moment. Somebody would smile at them, and customers are the same. People just need that.
Yeah, well, you talk about work automation, and I think of not even necessarily AI doing everything, but I think of like how many people are doing work now, whether it's like DoorDash or Uber, where they don't have work colleagues or people they're really interacting with. They're just going and they're doing this specific task, but they don't have any community. And I mean, that's a plot of a lot of sitcoms, right? I mean, there's what is it? It's not technically about Walmart, but the Superstore, right? It's just that it's this community of people who are bonded together, and even though a lot of what they're doing feels kind of ridiculous and pointless sometimes, that they have that they're together in an experience. And I mean, you do think about that. That is something that, especially if you don't have like a big family, or that you might be missing if the AI takes over everything. So.
Well, you were talking earlier about your grandparents and stuff, and I was thinking like automation's been around for like a century and more.
Yeah.
Both of my so on my mom's side, her parents both when they were younger worked factory work. Her dad later went into trucking, and mom stayed home and did some of the they grew up in an era where you were, if you were lucky, if you went far enough in school, you could count and stuff. And I can remember helping to count the days, whatever, and roll the coins end of the day, because, we probably had a little bit better math skills than my grandmother did. And she was helping with the business, so, yeah, but automation, yeah, I think in some respect it was because of working in a factory where there were, you connect to the people that you connect to. She met my grandma met my grandfather through a coworker. He was her coworker's brother. So it's kind of that. You see a lot of. I don't know what people with different styles of jobs do. I think when you work anywhere, any style of place where you're working around multiple people, there's probably at least a high percentage of people that get together that way through a workplace or through a connection to, or some kind of, and there's all kinds of rules to make sure that, to prevent inappropriate getting together. It's kind of like the whole don't date somebody that's below you in the pecking order. That can fall under all the training that you do in terms of not necessarily what do we call them? Shoot.
Yeah, it's definitely
because they're worried about a form of abuse, but unintentional, and or like we have all kinds of training on appropriate connections with people of various disabilities and customers and stuff. Don't pet the service dog. Don't talk. Don't grab somebody's wheelchair. Don't talk to the interpreter if there is one. Don't, you talk to the, there's all kinds of things that should be common sense that probably aren't, and, watching who you talk to about what and how you interact with others at work is kind of up there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, The Office, one of the constant plot lines in it is like people filling out the information and giving the disclosures to HR when they're having a romantic relationship with a coworker, which I don't know how real that is or not. Maybe Ethan knows about that. Did you ever have to fill out a form saying you were dating Jane at your work?
I had a conversation with my boss about it.
Okay.
I mean,
That's good.
we didn't have an HR department.
Yeah, that's good. No, I've never worked anywhere long enough that had an HR department that I would have, like a full HR department that I would have had to consider filling out one of those forms. But I don't know, at least according to The Office, it's a thing. But yeah.
It is.
Yeah. No, you talk about people you're near, and yeah, I think of that show. There's a whole speech that Jim gives in an episode about how he feels so fortunate because he happened to be working close to Pam. And I don't know, there's some truth to that, because I know my brother, he was literally working at a desk next to his wife before they started dating. So I don't know. Yeah. I guess it's Stockholm syndrome a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Or
I hope not. Like what?
well,
I mean,
what's
I
a
think-
term? There's a term for that kind of romance. It's a kind of common romance in literature, right? Like Beauty and the Beast is that kind of plot line. I forget the term for it, but where like the idea is that you just are around someone all the time and then you fall in love with them. Because like sometimes people say like, oh, Beauty and the Beast, it's like he was their captor, which was true, but she was a prisoner of war. It was the idea. It wasn't that he was torturing her or anything like that. But yeah.
I've experienced both ends of that because I've definitely experienced like falling for someone I worked with, and it was just because we were in close proximity and like spending time together. But then with Jane, like I think that sometimes working together is a good proxy of like, can you live with this person? Can you argue with this person? Because if you're working with them, often you're butting heads and you're how do we resolve this conflict? And if all those things go well, you go, oh, maybe I am falling in love with this person, and like we've actually learned how to navigate some things that will happen in our relationship. We've done that professionally, and that will benefit a future relationship. It also gets messy, but
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the very hard things about beginning a relationship is evaluating quickly whether or not this is someone you want to spend more time with. And sometimes you have very limited information. And if you're meeting them through like a dating app or a website, the information you have might be very curated and you might not see certain things. And I mean, if you can spend time with and talk to someone before you start dating them for an extended period of time, I think there is something to that for sure. You know, Sandy, actually, I was kind of curious because Henry, some of what he was saying kind of made me think of the conversation we had where he did the reaction video to the rabbi's talk on marriage. And I guess I don't think you had ever told me how did you and your partner Jack, how did you meet? I was kind of curious because it sounds like he was someone who was a little bit out of your orbit, so to speak, compared to your husband.
So I was, yeah. Well, I was looking for things to do in my spare time that weren't, just kids, school, or church. And I joined a bead society in the town that's now south of me. It was a little bit southwest of me where I lived before. And yeah, I'm usually one of those people that kind of gets roped into volunteering for something. So I ended up on the on their board or their executive committee or whatever. And they wanted me to look after communications, like develop a newsletter and this and that. And I was like, I didn't tell them that I was just in the throes of going through a divorce and should have, kind of held a long something out, that giant hand pushing the thing away. So I was struggling to do it. And I said to them, look, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm really not coping. So they ended up asking one of the other ladies if she would do it with me. So as we were doing it together. So we were planning on meeting this one day. And Starbucks. She loved Starbucks. Anyways, so we were meeting at a Starbucks we had agreed on. I don't even know why I have some great kerfuffle, stupidity. I forgot that my son Jacob was going to go out with one of his one-to-one workers. I ended up taking him with me. He had a complete freak out. So we had I won't say what all happened, but anyways, needless to say, by the time that I'd actually got out of the car, had a bit of a physical encounter with him over trying to go into the mall, because he had said he wanted to come with me, but I was heading straight to the bathroom to wash my hands, wipe some blood off, and basically just feeling incredibly pissed off at how the day was going already. And so he's like straggling behind, and I got to the doorway. I go to open the door. I see some guy sitting in the corner to the right of the door, goes to get up because I'm holding a like computer case, something else. And I'm, like trying to open the door, and I'm sore and I'm angry, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't get up. The last thing I need is somebody to see me like this, right? Got myself in. Jacob met me at the bathrooms. We were waiting for a bit because it was a busy place. We eventually got, ourselves our turns back out to see if my friend had arrived. And isn't she sitting in the same corner in the other chair that's kind of backing on the window? And I'm like, crap. And I walk over. So I'm like, well, there's nothing for it. I walk over with my stuff and with Jacob in tow. So there's 2 empty chairs. Like these are like, like you see in some coffee shops where there's like a little table in between, but these are like armchair kind of chairs. So these are like comfy chairs. Okay. So there's 2 chairs, a table, 2 chairs, a table, and a little like walking space in between. So I point Jacob over to the one opposite this guy that's sitting in the corner. And I say hi to my friend, and I'm struggling to, just sort of get my stuff down into the chair. And while I'm doing that, he looks up and he goes, oh my gosh, oh, it's you. I didn't think I was going to get to talk to you. And he starts going on about how he wanted to leap up and help me get in the door, because he could see that I really was, and then he goes, but I saw that you were completely capable, but I wanted to help you because you looked so haggard. He says to me.
You look so haggard. Ah, so romantic.
Turning her head and looking at him, right?
Yeah.
Awesome pickup line. You looked so haggard.
I guess.
I'm like,
yeah.
So then she's looking from him to me, to Jacob, to him, to me. And she just looks at me and shakes her head and she goes, huh, Sandy, this is my friend Jack. Jack, this is Sandy. At which point we're like, oh, and he's decided within 3 seconds, he had decided we're going to torment her and make her laugh because she never laughs. And we were already laughing. So it was kind of like, awesome. We share common goals.
Excellent. So he was a member of the Beat Society.
No.
Okay.
He just happened to pick the same coffee shop on the same day that we did.
And he happened to know your friend. Okay.
He just happened to know her, and they just, I don't know. Either of them knew the other was going to be there.
Okay. Yeah. And you don't live in that small of a town, do you? I mean, it's a fairly big area where you live, right?
No, yes and no. Like where we were meeting for coffee would have been the big town in the area. I think, unless it would be from the one east of me, because where I was this little kind of intersection of 2 highways that just kind of cross through this tiny little town that puts up with the giant trucks trying to figure out how to get around the corners. And sort of we belonged half to the area code and things to, like the South and the West, where I was in the Bead Society. And according to the government, we belonged as one of those amalgamated towns to all the guys to our east and south, which we ignored and called ourselves our same town name that we'd been forever anyway. One of those kind of little towns. And where I am now is kind of midway between the two, although here it's growing. There's houses going in, and they're knocking down all the tiny little houses and putting up big houses so they can rake in the money and saying how they're helping with the housing shortage. Yeah, right. So
interesting. So yeah. So I don't know. You got yourself on mute there, Matt. I don't know if you were trying to say something.
Not necessarily. I didn't want to interrupt Sandy's flow
Okay,
or
yeah.
anything like that.
So, so
Just
are you afraid of
Always
the
conscious
robots?
of
Or?
all of the ambient noise around me.
Yeah,
Is
that's
there a lot
fair.
of background? Is there a lot of background noise? The wind's blowing.
No, it's not too bad.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little, but I mean, I think I've heard plenty of people in their house that have had more going on. So, but yeah, no. Are you afraid of the robo apocalypse? You think it's going to happen in the next 18 months? That seems to be the question of the day.
I am not qualified to pontificate on when that is going to happen. Like it's just I don't have anywhere near the. I'm not educated enough to be able to give any sort of credence to when it's going to happen. As so, am I worried about what's going to happen when it does happen? Personally, not exactly, because I think I'm already trying to live that post 9 to 5 job life. So I think what I'm doing will be able to survive because of my strongly nurtured hatred for the robots. I mean, respectful hatred. I mean, y'all are gonna do what you're gonna do.
Keep
I'm
it
just
quiet.
trying
We're
to
on
carve.
YouTube.
I'm just trying to carve out my little human niche over here.
Yeah. Well, I feel like performers might have a bit of a yeah, they might have a leg up in terms of doing something that's not easily done on a computer. Like if you're an office worker, that's something that I feel like in theory could be more easily replicated. But then again, I don't know. It seems like music is the one big thing that AI is always, well, automation's coming for a lot of the time.
I think it's going to create this sort of big scissor between what kinds of music you like and go to listen to because you're not going to be able to like 2 3 days ago I went to just like a show with a couple of like local bands, for the most part bands you've never heard of. One of them was from like touring from LA, used to play up here all the time and the other ones are just purely like Seattle specific bands, and they put on a phenomenal show. It was wonderful. It was great. It was very much like I hope it's the sort of thing that you can only do when you're in the room with the crowd that you're playing with.
Yeah.
It's sort of the kind of so I don't think that sort of thing is going away, but
Yeah.
there was also maybe 50 people at this show, so I'm not sure if that's going to grow necessarily, but I don't think that's going to die because they've got the people that already value seeing them play live continuing to go out and support them. So
Yeah. Yeah, something I've had on my mind is that I think at some point there's probably going to be some um, maybe megagelical church that at one of their smaller campuses is probably going to plug in a code and it'll play all the instruments. And I feel like that's going to happen at
actually,
some point.
I don't know, because this is one of the things that's sort of like a big tell during like the big sort of arguments about like multi-site churches, where you would have like say like Mark Driscoll preaching at his like Central Seattle campus, and he was telebeamed to all the other little like satellites throughout the area. But the bands were live. The bands were in the room,
Yeah.
which is sort of a tell for what you actually really value, what's really important about what's going on here. Like we know this can't be faked in the way that I don't know teaching is, or at the very least, like we're not. Our teachers aren't close enough to the ground. They're not preaching contextually enough. They're preaching for YouTube. They're preaching for their podcast rather than for the 200 people that are in the seats in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. How many years have you been in Seattle?
15 years.
Okay. So you would have been there around the tail end of Mars Hill, right?
Yeah. I went there for a couple of weeks, but it was just
Okay.
far enough away that it was annoying. So
Well,
I
because
tried a couple of times.
yeah, as I understood it, like all of their individual campuses had their own bands, and they were like I guess a lot of them were like the tooth and nail kind of like Christian alternative kind of rock bands that were doing their own original music. And yeah, I know some of them are still around too. What is it? God, I get the name wrong, but Judah the Lion, or isn't that one of the ones that came out of Marcel? I think.
Are you
I think
thinking of
they're Southern.
Are you thinking of Pedro the Lion?
Yes, yeah, I think.
Okay, that no. Pedro the Lion was like, I think way before Marcel's time. That was like,
Okay.
that was like solid like 90s.
Hmm.
That was the one of the first kind of like indie crossover. Played it to the nail, but it had a lot of like street cred outside of like
Okay.
the label.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those. Yeah, that was David Bazan's band. He was kind of like the big
Okay.
name, and
Yeah.
but they're definitely Seattle area. But I don't think they were at all affiliated with Marcel.
Yeah. Ghost Ship. Yeah, that's like the one that's still around a little bit that came out of Mars Hill. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. No, honestly, a lot of their music, at least what they played on the podcast, it seemed to not translate that well to recording. I don't know if it was just a place where they were recording it or what, but yeah. Still kind of an interesting idea to have, like, their own bands and stuff, but sometimes that gets a little bit dicey too. I know there were some people who were like, felt like they basically got put in positions that they shouldn't have been in because they were affiliated with the bands.
That's a frequent thing that just happens with bands that are playing in Jesus World.
Yeah.
You're expected to be more than just a good band member
Hmm.
or a skilled musician.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd be interested to see the books of like Hillsong or Elevate, but I mean, in a real sense, I feel like they're probably record labels that have churches attached, at least if you look at it in terms of the money involved.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. I don't know if Marcel started their own record label or not. They did like run a music venue for a while and closed down before I got into town. But just the idea of a church that owns a music venue that's just for use for the public is, I think, phenomenal.
I think it's
Yeah,
really
that is
cool.
pretty cool. So, yeah. Well, Mars Hill, as I understand it, and maybe this is completely off base, but a lot of their campuses are still around. But they don't have the Mars Hill label, right?
Yeah. There's plenty of them that have gone independent, and so they've gone from their own. At least some of them are still independent. There's one in my hometown, or adoptive hometown, that's like, oh, that's where the Marcel that used to be the Marcel Church, and it's basically the same church, just not with the controversial figurehead.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mark Driscoll is, well, he is an interesting guy. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of enjoy, well, maybe it's unfair to put Mark Driscoll in the same category, but I enjoy listening to like podcasts about slightly dysfunctional people. Like, well, no, like there's this one about like this like business manager.
Better dysfunctional than a normie.
So, like, you like listening to them. You're not saying you like creating them, are you?
I don't know. Someone wants to pay me, maybe. I know this is pretty amateur hour stuff. I'm not planning to have it monetized anytime soon. But no, like there's one about like this lady who was a business manager for Dennis Rodman, and she stole quite a few millions of dollars from him. And I don't know, like I like those kind of like true crime kind of or podcasts about cults and stuff like that. But yeah. Have you heard of the cat cult? That was kind of one of the ones I came across recently. It was kind of interesting. I don't even know what the name of it was, but Cheryl Ruthven. It's funny because she looks exactly like and has the same like vocal cadence as Lisa Kudrow, and her
Oh,
whole like cult's like craziest thing, which was that they were obsessed with cats, which is also like very on brand for well Phoebe from Friends. So yeah,
hmm.
Oh,
but it was kind of interesting. But
I
yeah,
wonder if that's intentional.
I doubt
Sort
it
of
could have been.
like the cult leader just dropping a couple like Easter eggs in there, and it's like if you draw too much attention to it, that's a sign that you're not devoted enough to the cult. You're starting to notice the sort of the first tripwire of folks you need to label as a suppressive person.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a cult. Yeah, definitely a cult technique for sure. But yeah, so is to basically weed out people who are not entirely on board by making them do slightly crazy things like adopt 40 cats.
Like
Apparently,
for
this is
real?
yeah.
oh,
You can listen to the podcast if you
That's
want.
that's
I put the link
I
there.
I appreciate that, but I'm not going to. It's too many.
top 40 cats.
But was that? But that was like specifically that many cats?
I, I mean, maybe
Or
in that number, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like they said like you have to adopt 40 cats exactly, but yeah, there were several
or is it
people, I
like
guess.
the more cats you're able to handle in your personal life, the more rungs you've ascended on the ladder of I don't know.
I guess apparently
I
she
mean,
was. No,
you
these
could
people
you could
apparently they would go on vacation and like she would like monitor their house, like make sure they were taking care of these cats. And apparently, she called back some people from a vacation with their kids. They're like, "Yeah, your cat's like sick. You gotta come home and like take them to the vet." uh,
Oh, this is
uh,
incredible. And there's like Egyptian iconography you can like dial it back to, where like the modern day Bast
oh
worshippers or
yeah.
something.
Yeah. No, actually, it kind of messed with my head a little bit. Where sometimes you hear people who have been involved with dysfunctional religious movements, and they're just like,
Oh,
"Oh, I don't like believe
oh.
in God anymore," or "I think it was all nonsense." But almost like everyone who was involved with their cult was still not just a Christian, but like hardcore charismatic. It seemed, and it was like, oh man, these people really thought that she had something like maybe it was demons, but something going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, so but yeah, so, so uh, anything? I know we talked a little bit at the top of the stream about your channel, Ethan. Anything you wanted to plug, or I might be getting ready to wrap up for the day here in a moment. So.
You were talking about some game show, game something. What the heck? What is this?
There's people who come talk to me and I ask them questions and I call it a game show.
Gotcha.
Ethan is basically the Alex Trebek of the TLC. Uh, but-
I got some work to do to make it better, but week by week, slowly but surely.
no, I thought it was a good format. It was a good breakup of the normal randos format, so I thought it was good.
Well, we have commercials now, and we have some intro music from McMo. So,
Nice.
when I finally get home to Wisconsin, maybe we'll build a set. Who knows?
Oh gosh. Have you has your hosting persona changed much from is it like it's like developed a little bit from your first foray with Henry?
Marginally, not really.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't decide if I want to go full persona or if I like the pretending to have a different persona that's actually not really that different from your actual persona.
Hmm.
Uh, do you feel like your persona on YouTube is who you are? or do you feel like sometimes you're playing games a little bit?
Do those have to be mutually exclusive?
I don't think I'm. Well, that's kind of specific. I don't think I play any games on YouTube that I don't play in real life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty. Yeah, what you see is what you get, for better or worse. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm not necessarily playing a game or anything. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a YouTube persona. I don't think there's a like San Antonio Satori or Grim Grizz. No, I think that could have its fun, but yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know, not what I'm doing though. So yeah, maybe Sandy's like secretly an MMA fighter or something. That's why she's always injured. She's the opposite. Like she's just a nice like Canadian lady on YouTube, and then she's just like a total like badass when she's off.
Nope. I did raise boys and survive.
Gosh.
There's a little bit out of you then.
Although I have to say, I got nothing on my my mother-in-law has been dead forever. My ex was the youngest of 12. Oldest brother-in-law was 2 years younger than my mom. when I first started explaining his family to my friends, they'd say, "Well, does he have any brothers or sisters?" "Oh yeah, he's got 3 sisters and 8 brothers," and their eyes would get big, and they'd go, "And is his mother still alive?" I feel like, yes.
Yeah.
She was tough.
So you don't produce that many kids without being made of some pretty stern stuff.
I think it was the whole 9 boys.
God.
I used to tease my ex and say, "Did you notice that your older sister had a couple of, brothers to look after, and your middle one, she had a few, but your youngest sister, she only had you." Does that kind of tell you anything? His sister that was closest to him, she used to tell stories about yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how many people would there be at like the? I don't know if it'd be Christmas then.
They came in waves. His parents had a tiny little 2-bedroom house by the time they'd gotten rid of all the kids and moved everybody out. When we got married, I went to a tiny little church that held 200 people. So that meant basically only his brothers and sisters with their spouses could come. Maybe a couple of the nieces and nephews that were like over a certain age. I still get called Aunt Sandy with an evil grin by people in their 40s or 50s just because they think it's hilarious because they were practically the same age as me. Yeah.
Funny.
If you're going to have family, you got to make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Have a good sense of humor and know when you need to take a break and give some people some space.
Yeah. Well, my wife, I think she has, I want to say about somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 first cousins. And yeah, at our wedding, it was literally, cousins, aunts and uncles, parents and grandparents. And I mean, I think there was less than 20 people who weren't in that category, and it was, I think, about 130 people at the wedding.
Yeah.
So she has a pretty big extended family. So yeah, nowhere near that many. I don't know. I guess I've become a victim of my side of the family has become victims of the modern machine. Well,
Is there a
Are we-
boat going by?
There are both.
Okay. I was about to say, are we listening to your music? Nice.
No, I have no idea what this boat is, but that looks awesome. Floating event and entertainment venue. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
We need Matt's stuff
they,
because
gosh,
none of
they
us
even
are
have
going
like
outside.
they have food trucks on their ferry.
Whoa.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people from Michigan don't realize that food trucks are really well in like Portland. They're really food carts most of the time. So they think they're buying the actual vehicles that are going everywhere. But yeah, so
No, plenty of them are.
Oh yeah, here still you
yeah.
can get food trucks going places.
But a large percentage of them are the pods, though. So basically, the trailers, which they could be taken somewhere, but they're semi-permanent.
There's a mix of the two, and there's one spot where it was a permanently parked truck that was gradually kind of like trying to scrape together enough capital to open its own shop, which it finally did, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Very happy for them. But
Yeah, yeah. The hipster neighborhood in Detroit, there's a place that basically they garden the area, and they have basically a camper van. It's called the Pink Flamingo, and they have a bonfire, and like they have food on Thursday nights on in the summer, which is pretty great. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, I don't know. Any big thoughts, Sandy, Matt, or uh,
We're all
anything
gonna
you
be
want
all
to get
right.
off your chest? We're gonna all be all right. Okay. All right. So, well, I may need to get off because I actually, man, I had quite the saga earlier today getting a ladder, and I finally did get the ladder, but I only got about an hour of sunlight left here, so I need to try and go remove this like partially fallen branch that's wedged into this tree.
Ooh.
Before
mm,
it's not a huge branch, but it's like 15 feet up. So yeah, I need a ladder to. And I didn't have one that was big enough in my garage. So
Well, be careful. They can be unpredictable, and there
yeah.
are such a thing as jobs where people do this all day. All
Oh
day.
yeah, no, I'm not sawing anything. So it's just kind of the branch already fell, but it's like wedged between two other branches. So no power tools involved, thankfully. So just climbing up the ladder and yeah, getting that the dead branch that's already broke off the tree down. So it's not even that big. It's just way up there. So maybe I should go live and like me and Matt together. Like if people can watch me do this, like I could get like a I don't know like a what I get a Go camera on my forehead.
Chad style, just prop your phone on like a tree stump, 200 yards away.
Gosh. Yeah, that's funny. Uh, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for getting on tonight. So it's good seeing you, Sandy. Always good seeing Matt, and yeah, I like adding the outdoors. Ethan, yeah, same here, and yeah, keep up the game show stuff, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing the one on the mountain that I guess drops next week.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right.
Later.
See you guys.